So we're learning about equations of circles today. You remember back a few months ago where we reviewed how to graph a point, an XY point? Okay, let's review that again, just really fast. Review graphing. So if we have a point x comma y, how do we graph that? What do we do to graph it? X either goes left or right, and then from that point, y goes up or down, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's try this point with me. Try the point. Let's do 4 comma 3. How do we graph that?
Over 4 up 3.
Okay, over 4 up 3. And there's a point on our graph at 4, 3, correct? Okay, so then sometimes we actually have equations that give us certain shapes on a graph. Like we learned previously that a line on a graph is like related by the equation y equals mx plus b, right? That's because x and y are variables. They change. Variable means change, okay? Vary. So you can plug in some number for x and then you get a number for y. If you plug in a different number for x, you get a different number for y because they vary. And if you keep putting those x's and y's on your graph, you'll get a straight line, right? That's from a y equals mx plus b graph that we've done previously in the past when we were doing straight lines. There's a poster over there if you don't remember that, but it's not important today. Okay, the thing that's important today is we're learning about the equation of a circle, not the equation of a line, but the equation that would actually graph a circle. Okay, so tell me the definition of a circle again. Do you remember? A circle is the set of all points. You don't have to write this down again if you already have it on your notes somewhere. Set of all points equidistant from a point. I don't know if I even spelled that right. Equidistant. I think I put an extra S. I don't know. Equidistant from a point called the center. And what is that distance called? Nope, it's called the radius, okay? So the distance that we go from the center is called the radius. So there are two very important things about every circle, and that is its center and its radius. Those are the two things that define a circle. Each circle has its own center and its own radius, okay? All right, we're going to start with a circle that has its center at 0, 0. Okay, and I'm going to make this particular circle have a radius of 5. So if the center is at 0, 0 and the radius is 5, wouldn't that mean that there's a point over here at 5, 0? And wouldn't there be another point at 0, 5? If it has a radius of 5? And wouldn't there be another point at -5, 0, and also, Lacey, one at 0, -5? Don't you think? Huh? Okay, so if I have a circle with radius 5, then it would definitely go through those 5 points if the center is at 0, 0, correct?
Correct. We
need an equation that's going to relate those points to each other, so that if we plug in one point like x, we can find the other point y. Okay? Well, let's think about this point right here that I did earlier, 4, 3. That one just happens to be on the circle. Yes, I did plan that. Okay. The x value, remember, is the distance we moved to the right in this particular point. The y value in this particular point is the distance we move up to that point, correct? So the x value is kind of like the side of a triangle.
True.
And the y value is the other side of a triangle. And because one's horizontal and one's vertical, they are 90 degrees, right? Yeah. What is that line right there called?
Isn't that the
It's the hypotenuse, yes, but for the circle, what's it called?
The circle or the triangle?
For the triangle, it's the hypotenuse, but for the circle, what is it?
It's a radius.
It's the radius.
Yeah,
Isn't that cool? Doesn't that mean that we can, doesn't that actually mean we can find any point on our graph using something that relates the two sides of the triangle to the radius? Can anyone think of a formula that we use sometimes that talks about the sides of a triangle? Lacey, you're awesome. Okay, we are going to use Pythagorean theorem to relate these to each other.
I got a question.
Yeah?
So this video that you're making, maybe post it on Facebook?
I put them on YouTube and then I put them on YouTube and then they just go on my website. Okay.
Well, put it on YouTube, put it on Facebook, same video.
So, use Pythagorean theorem. Why would my Facebook friends want to watch this?
Well, they
Facebook?
everyone has a Facebook.
Okay. So Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which means the legs of a triangle squared is equal to the hypotenuse squared, correct?
Correct.
But in our triangle over here in our picture, did we use a, b, and c?
No,
No, what did we use?
we used
X, Y, and R. So instead of a, b, and c, let's change them for x, y, and r. So what would a be instead of a? A could be x instead, because that's one side of our triangle. What could b be instead of
Y.
b? B could be y, because that's another side of our triangle, and then
R.
c could be r. Guess what we just created? That is the equation of a circle. But the catch is the equation of the circle is just at 0, 0 center. Do you think the center of your circle has to be at 0, 0?
Oh, no.
No. The center of your circle does not have to be at 0, 0. So we actually need to practice moving that center around and see what happens. Before we do that, though, let's practice some other problems really fast. So I'm going to do just a couple of examples. Let's write the equation if the center is at 0, 0 and the radius equals 3. What would we do to write the equation? How would we use this? Do we have a specific x value?
No,
No. Do we have a specific y value?
yes, no.
No, because remember how x and y are called variables? We use x and y so that they can change. Okay? So we're actually going to leave x and y the way they are in the equation. We don't replace them. Okay? But for a certain circle, is the radius going to stay the same for that circle? Yeah, it's not going to vary. It's not a variable. It's something that's going to stay the same for that circle. So if r equals 3, and here's our formula, what do you think we're going to do with that 3 in the formula? We're going to plug it in instead of the r, and we're going to square it. And then these we can't do anything else with because we don't know what those numbers are. But this one we can square it. So what's 3 squared?
Isn't it 9?
3 squared is in fact 9. We just wrote the equation for that circle. That's the answer. That's the type of problem you're doing on your homework today.
Oh, that's all?
Well, sort of, but they get harder, so.